please welcome President and CEO Booking.com, Gillian Tans.
Sorry to keep you waiting. I just wanted to get through all the Skift. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
The story of Booking.com, for people who don't understand the amazing story that the company is, people have said it's the best acquisition in internet history ever done in terms of what it's done for Priceline. It's also one of the most, I think, one of the most underwritten stories about success in business. And you've been there since 2002, from the very start, and turns out they did everything wrong, completely opposite of what the world was doing. The story which we did, the oral history that we did, which was they went to, I'm not supposed to say this, but they went to the Focus Wrong conference, and realized that they were focused on the wrong things, but turns out that was the right thing for them. The two founders, this is back in 2002, 2003, that they were using the agency model when everybody else was using the merchant model. And turns out that worked for them. Do you see your agency model changing in any way at all in the next 3, and you were appointed the CEO in April, so now you have the full reign to sort of do whatever you want. Do you think that changing a little bit in the future?
Yeah, well, I think just like anything at Booking, that also the agency model is being innovated on. But the good thing about the agency model and what you see more and more is that customers want flexibility. And it's just like any purchase you do online, right? You want to be able to buy something. If you don't like it, you want to return it. And that's the same in travel. I mean, customers want flexibility, and the agency model provides that flexibility. But also Booking is building payment tools as such, because also there's places where we can truly help customers or partners that have difficulties with receiving payments in all kind of currencies. So we are constantly innovating how we can make actually the agency model even better for customers and also for
You are in how many countries? 100 and...
well, 204.
Jeez.
Yes.
And how many employees does the total?
13,000 employees.
And this is just Booking, not the Priceline?
No, it's only Booking in 188 offices across the world.
How many do you travel to?
Sorry?
How many do you travel to?
Well, I try to travel to as many as possible, and the whole leadership team is doing that. So we do have goals as to how many offices we want to visit each year, because it's very important that we visit these local markets and our local teams to really get a feeling of what's happening in these markets and how we can help these teams move forward. So for myself, I travel around 50% of my time, and most of it is also visiting these offices.
So Booking.com now is the biggest part of Priceline.
Yes.
At what point would Priceline be renamed Booking.com Inc.?
Yeah, that's the question you should ask Jeff Boyd, but...
I've been saying that on Twitter for the last 2 years, turns out. So in terms of scale, there was some number out there that there are X billion number of rooms in the world. And turns out Booking.com is the largest, but it only has X million.
Yes.
How soon can, and the gap is giant.
Yes.
Even though Booking.com is so big. How many listings?
Well, we have over 1 million properties listed on Booking. 750,000 of these are alternative accommodations. And we have around 23 million rooms on Booking.com.
So one of the questions which investor type people will ask you, and I'm sure do ask you, and Priceline itself, is how much growth is left in the world. Yeah. Like how it's, if online, and people don't realize online travel is still, what, 15% of the world?
Yeah,
like,
well, it's smaller, I think.
Even smaller.
Yeah, I think.
And so how much can can it grow?
Yeah, I mean, I still think for Booking.com, I always say it feels like we're still at the beginning. There's still so much opportunity, but even in the number of accommodations, I mean, we have now over 1 million properties listed, but every day we open so many more listings on Booking.com. So even also in that, there's a lot of growth for Booking.
And what's the, in terms of the of the properties coming online,
Yes.
which is like the biggest that you're most excited about? Which country?
Which country? Well, of course, the US has an enormous focus for Booking to grow.
Right, because it historically hasn't been that big.
No, correct. So there we open a lot of properties every day, but also still hotels, so to speak. Then China, for instance. Japan is an exciting market, I think, where we are getting, getting more properties on board. But even if you think about a country like Italy, where we have over 100,000 properties, and so don't underestimate these countries in Europe, which has a lot of small accommodations, which customers like to book and see and find on Booking.com.
And in terms of the blended organized accommodation and then alternative accommodation, Booking.com has taken the view that it's all the same. Is that fair to say? In terms of how you want to display properties?
Yes, we don't have different products for different property types. No, because, and the reason is that we see a lot of cross-sell. So we see a lot of customers that come in looking for a hotel and they might end up booking an apartment. And that's why we want to make sure we bring...
Do you care the margins on this are better than the margins on that?
No, we care what is best for that customer. And that's how Booking is structured around everything that we do has to do with making sure that this customer has the best experience. And that's why it's important we have a wide variety of choice for customers. But it's very important that we bring transparency as to what is out there and what choices can they make.
Do you think at some point, and this happens sometimes on Booking and other sites as well, just the overwhelming nature of just the sheer amount of choices? And so in terms of, obviously everybody talks about personalization. Yeah. Reality is, where are we in personalization today, even though people have been talking about it for 5 years at this point?
Yeah, no, correct. And just to come back on the amount of listings, of course we test everything at Booking.com, and many people also said in the past, oh, you know, we should stop acquiring properties, and we've always through tests still have seen that the more properties we add, the more customers we can actually facilitate. So it's not that we feel that there should be a limitation as to how much properties you find on Booking.com. As to the personalization, you see that companies that are most successful are companies that put customers at the center, basically, of their businesses and their product experiences. I think that's nothing new, but what you see today is we have data available that basically gives much more depth and breadth as to what we can do and how we can personalize travel even more. And, yes, and at Booking.com, we use that a lot, the data that we have, and today the possibilities we have with that data. So you find that back in the experiences we just launched. You will find it in Booking Messages, where we have that available.
So I got to ask this question. The pop-ups that come, 6 people are looking at this book now, is that true?
That's true. It's true.
Because I could swear there was I took a screenshot. 120 people just booked this hotel in Iceland, and turns out there was 120 people across all of Iceland, not that hotel. Yeah. And I tweeted that screenshot. One of your product managers, a very smart guy, who like immediately said, no, it's actually the whole of Iceland, not that just hotel. I said, how can in the last 5 minutes 120 people have booked? Yeah. But
no, it's
do you see on the other end, and these are psychological sort of marketing conversion tactics that that I think Booking.com has pioneered in many ways.
Yeah, and tested. So that's actually what customers want. Otherwise, it's not there. So we do see, and we've had also when you see what we say that this property is almost sold out, has a reason.
But it's not really sold out, though. It's inventory that you have.
Yeah, on Booking, but it says that as well. But we do that because in the past we had many issues that customers in the weekend were looking for a certain property, and then on Monday they wanted to book it, and then suddenly the property was sold out. So there is a reason, and we test everything we do. So if a customer wouldn't like it, or if it would be bad for customers, it's not on Booking.com.
And you historically have been very conversion focused. It's the history of the company. It's what everybody, you grew up in that whole conversion world. when Booking.com came out with their first campaign was a seminal moment, I'm sure, for the company.
Yes.
The fact that they're doing a TV advertising.
Yes.
What was that decision?
Yeah.
And what are the results, I guess, 2 years later now?
3 years later, our first campaign was out in the US. It was an interesting moment for Booking because we always had in our formula that we don't do any offline advertising. So actually when we announced internally we're going to go offline in the US, the whole company almost went on strike. But we did say it is a good thing because we should also innovate.
You mean the French team or the Dutch team?
Oh, well, everybody, I think. But no, but we noticed that, and that also has to do with the US. The US is a different marketplace, and that's also something we've learned, right? When we are crossing all these borders, we do see the differences in our brand marketing as to how our brand is known in Europe or parts of Asia or Australia versus the US. And also in the US, the message we need to give out there is much more how do we show our differences as a brand, as what we deliver to customers. And so we have a different approach in our brand marketing here. And by basically taking that step in the US on brand marketing, we learned so much. And actually,
what was the biggest lesson?
Well, we learned that actually building trust in your brand and what that can do, right, for the reach and for people returning to your site, all kind of elements, we've learned through data that actually helps.
And so the biggest thing, and a lot of TV advertisers here, people who spend a lot of money in TV, travel advertisers, for them, the exposure down to the funnel in terms of conversion is a holy grail. Everybody's trying to figure it out.
Yes.
Have you figured it out?
No, we haven't figured it out. And we have a lot of, we put more and more teams in our marketing departments who are really focused on ad testing, so to speak, and to really learn, okay, how can we do a lot more testing with creatives and therefore understand a lot better as to the investments we make because we also want to monetize in a smart way.
If the Trivago guy gets laid off, will you hire him?
Would I hire him? I wouldn't know. No,
in terms of loyalty, I know Booking is very anti-loyalty, or like loyalty as in loyalty program itself.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we're anti-loyalty because that's...
Loyalty as in people coming to, yes, but like from a loyalty program perspective, you don't have one.
Yeah.
And why do you think that doesn't work? Paying for loyalty.
Well, I think Booking is all about loyalty because if you think about what Booking is doing for customers and how we are measuring, in every corner of our organization we measure loyalty. So we know very well as to where do we need to innovate to basically help customers and become more loyal to Booking.com. I also think that if you think about loyalty, it's a lot more than a program and a brand. And that's what people need to realize. Nowadays, I mean, customers, they don't care about the brand as such. They care about the platform that delivers what they're looking for. And customers today have higher expectations of technology. And that's becoming more and more complex. And that's something where Booking keeps innovating in to make sure that we deliver up to these needs of customers. We have 13,000 people in Booking.com every day that are basically innovating to make sure that we deliver.
How many A/B tests are going on at one time?
Well, it's over 1,000 every day.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. And so, in terms of the looking at reviews versus brand itself, do you see a future where hotels, independent hotels, or hotels that are thinking of going under a flag and say, we don't need a flag, why should we pay their fees? We might as well pay fees to Booking.com. We have the distribution. Now you've bought Boutique. Boutique was our first advertiser. Thank you for buying them. Turns out we have 6 or 7 different advertisers who advertise with Skift and then get bought. So we jokingly say that was the result of advertising on Skift. May or may not be true.
I didn't even know that, so.
So now you bought Boutique, you bought a couple of other these back-end software companies, so to, I guess, close the loop.
Yeah.
If you have all those technologies to help independent hotels, smaller hotels, do you foresee a future where they just don't go under a flag and say, Booking.com, you have everything, and instead of paying this percent and this percent here, might as well just pay you?
Yeah, I mean that's at all not our focus. We basically, and we've had tools for hotels for a long time, because if you think about the market in Europe, there's many small properties that they're not part of a brand, and they like it when we help them with technology, and because it's sometimes very expensive to have a very good converting website. So, and that's also why we bought Boutique, because we can basically offer and innovate on also products for themselves. The same with the rate management products we put out. There also comes from a need from properties that find it difficult what rate should I now set on what day, and we think we can really add value to properties.
So how deep can you go into that world without angering some of your sort of consumer brands that are on Booking.com, or are you out to disrupt the technology players that are there in the industry, tons of software companies in the hotel marketing space?
Yeah, that's not our mission. I mean, in the end, our mission is on the one hand to improve the experience of customers. And if we can improve the experience of customers also by having better technology in properties, then we will focus on that. Also, we want to make sure that we keep our partners happy. And
but you do see how sometimes it comes across as a company like Booking, and as a brand, you need to be with 20 different distribution channels. Why should I put all my eggs in the basket with Booking? You do understand where the hotels are coming from when they worry a little bit about you buying some of these companies as well.
Yeah, it could be, but there's many that also appreciate what we're doing, and we're making it a lot cheaper for many properties to use these type of products.
What about, let's take this a little further. Direct booking, it's the thing that everybody talks about. You're tired of it, hearing about it, because that's all everybody talks about. Give me your first sense of sort of where you think in 2016 today, the OTAs versus the hotels trying to book direct, what are your top line thoughts?
Yeah, I always say any opinion doesn't really matter in this discussion, because eventually customers will go to platforms which deliver what they're looking for. So in the end, the customer will make that decision which platform they're going to use in the future. And also Booking.com more and more is focusing on that need. And but also, like I said, the expectations go up, so they want even more speed, 24/7 support in all of these languages, more and more choice. That's what customers look, more and more flexibility. So there's many elements that Booking is focusing on to make sure we keep delivering to the needs of these customers.
Do you think in terms of...
And I always think there will be direct bookings, because if a customer twice per month books the Marriott downtown Chicago, then it makes sense to book that property direct. But there's also many customers that go to places, you know, most of the customers on Booking are booking a property for the first time. Mm-hmm. And that's a different type of customer.
Yeah. In terms of a player like Airbnb and HomeAway and others, and you have, as you mentioned, decided to blend the whole thing together. There's a thread that says that if anybody can take on Airbnb in that world, it could be Booking by the sheer heft of Booking and the fact that they're melding everything and bringing choice to it. What is the consumer saying when this whole thing, this whole alternative accommodation took off, that you saw that hotel industry can learn from?
Yeah, well, I mean, Booking.com has been adding these property types for a long time.
Right.
And so this is for Booking not new in that sense. But you see now it's becoming more and more a trendy way to travel, and it gets, of course, a lot of attention. But we've been having lots of property types for a long time on Booking.
Now you're also allowed to like single rooms and stuff.
And the thing what I always say that hotels can learn from it is the quality they deliver to customers. And we put out a video, The Perfect 10. And it's a very interesting video because it shows the properties that receive a 10 review scores from customers. And we interviewed these properties to really see what are you now doing to get a 10. And it's interesting to see they bake cookies, they do all kind of things to make these customers really happy. And I think that's also something that these property types deliver to customers, and they give this true local experience, which customers clearly like.
We do have time for questions on this one, so in case people want to line up there, or are we doing mic runners? Anybody knows what we're doing this time? Anyway, the microphones are still there, so in case anybody wants to have a question. So, in terms of reviews, do you think there's a saturation point in reviews? People just get overwhelmed, there are too many reviews?
No, because what you see more and more, and that's also what Booking is doing, is to think more and more what type of reviews are relevant
in a smaller form factor?
Yes. Yeah.
How do you?
Because they can choose, I want to reviews from families or business travelers. So you see more and more that shift actually, and that is also a lot of machine learning that we put into that. And that actually helps customers a lot more. But the more reviews, the better.
What, anybody have any questions? I have a million questions. So in terms of the Booking Now app that just you announced, or I don't know if you announced it, but it closed yesterday or whatever, two days ago. So for those of you who don't know, Booking Now was a last-minute app that Booking.com launched. Why did it close down?
Yeah, I mean, Booking Now really started when we saw the change in need that customers wanted better technology for their last-minute bookings. So it really helped Booking at that time to think about that technology and to test that technology, which we've done, but then we also, of course, once we saw that that technology was working, we moved it into the main app. And what you saw happening at some point is that actually everything you can find on Booking Now, you could also find on the main app. So many people were using the main app, and it delivered its purpose in that sense that it really helped us to make these improvements on our main app. But then we thought it doesn't make sense to then continue Booking Now while the main app has progressed so much.
Do you
more.
see the windows, booking windows changing in any like big picture way?
Yeah, we do see that people book more and more short and more further out. So the middle is actually declining. That's what we see, and I think also within the
Which
upcoming...
country is like was the most procrastinating country in the world that books hotels? They are the worst people who book at the exact like 2 minutes before, whatever, 2 hours before.
The most last minute, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably, I think the most mobile.
I'm gonna guess it's India.
China.
I'm just gonna say it's India.
Yeah, it
I'm
could be,
from
but I think if you look on Booking Day, it's probably China today. That's what I think. Yeah. But I mean, Booking will pass within the upcoming time frame that 50% of people book on mobile. And
50%.
Yes, I mean that will happen the upcoming time, and so mobile for us is very important. We put mobile first in our business. It doesn't mean that we ignore desktop, because you do see that customers are still on multi-devices, so it's very important to optimize across all screens. And what was interesting last season more and more is that people, for instance, booked their holiday to Thailand. They booked their first accommodation upfront to Bangkok, for instance, when they arrive. But after that, they actually travel very spontaneous. So they use the Booking app to really go to places and look at which properties are available, which was interesting that you see that growing, that behavior, that people really want that spontaneous experience.
I mean, they need the factor that there will be something available even if I'm there.
Yes, and that's the good thing about Booking, is that everything is instant bookable, right? No matter if you book an apartment or a villa.
Hi.
Question.
Thank you. My name's James Phillips from GTA. I was at an event yesterday in Reno, Nevada, and Booking.com is now entering the trade space, targeting travel agents. And it's a very interesting development given the focus on consumers until this point. Could you just comment on that and just talk about the strategy behind that and your expectations?
Yeah, I mean, we've always had within our affiliate network travel agents. The only thing we've done is that we said, you know, these travel agents had specific needs, specific tooling that they needed. Also because they're often, of course, booking for somebody else. So that's the only thing that we've done, that we said, okay, we give them better technology, but these people were already very connected to Booking.com.
Great. Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
Hi, VP of Marketing and Distribution Strategy at Choice Hotels. I'm wondering if you can talk about some of the bets that you're making in terms of emerging technologies that will really influence future customer engagement models, from your perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, that is probably most in AI, because, and it's not a new technology, but it's most evolving, and it really has the opportunity to change even more than only businesses that are out there. Booking.com has been using AI techniques, of course, in the experiences product we've launched, in booking messages, for instance. So in that sense, we are using it more and more, but even in the amount of A/B experiments we do every day, the 1,000 we do, more and more we're using these techniques. And what's super interesting, and I think also there was a research by Gartner that said that they expect that by the end of 2020, 85% of customers will interact without the human. So that technology goes very fast, and that's also why Booking needs to constantly invest, because if you think about voice technology, and they expect by 2018 already that digital assistants can recognize a voice and a face of a customer, no matter what platform. And that, of course, will humanize again the whole customer experience. And for Booking, that is super interesting. And that's why we're focused a lot on that. And because it will change, if you think about voice technologies, can change Booking from customer service to content, but also to language translations, for instance. So that's would be my first thing to say.
Thank you.
Question there.
Hi, David Albrecht here from Shortbar. Nice to meet you. I'm interested in how you think about inventory for small operators. So a typical small hotel might have 50 or 60 rooms in it. You know, that's kind of the middle of the market in the United States. Can you talk a bit about how you think about inventory commitment? In particular, for a lot of small operators, they might have 3 or 4 different OTAs that they're using. I've talked to a lot of them, and it seems like what they do is if they have 50 or 60 rooms in the property, they might put 15 of them on Expedia, maybe 15 on Orbitz, or sorry, yeah, 15 on Expedia, 15 on Booking, maybe reserve 15 for their direct channel. But do you see a future where there might be overcommitment, like where they deliberately put more inventory than they can sell, and then they back it off as they start to sell it, kind of similar to what the airlines do? And I'm also particularly interested in how this applies with these very short-term bookings, like at the very last minute, where they might have to very rapidly change. And it's interesting because keep in mind as well that their technology systems are quite old.
Yeah. No, and that is also a focus in Booking, because with the change in customer behavior, like I said, customers want more flexibility. That also means that the way properties look at their inventory needs to change so they can deal with this growing demand. And I think also Booking needs to think about technology to basically also make sure that properties do see what's happening. And even if many customers are booking, some are canceling, and not to do all the work for it, but to do see that eventually there's a lot of interest and eventually the property will get fully booked. Because I also say Booking has a lot of information on demand. So we can already predict very well how many customers we will deliver to a certain destination. And I think we can help properties a lot more to basically manage that in a better way without doing all the work for it and having more guarantees that eventually your property will be fully booked, because eventually that's, of course, the whole goal.
Okay.
Travis.
Hi, Travis Katz from Googlebot. So you're one of the biggest spenders on Google, and Google's been making a lot of interesting moves in travel, both in what they're doing with search results, but also they recently released their Trips app. I'm curious to just get your reaction about what you're seeing Google doing. Does that affect your strategy at all at Booking? And do you think that's...
Just to give you a sense of how much they spend on Google.
Yeah.
I think, well, you know this, but and you will not tell the exact number, but the whole Priceline group is close to $4 billion. Total marketing budget, most of which is spent on Google.
Yeah, no, I always say that, and of course it's difficult to say now because these are all recent launches that Google have done, and we all know that Google is also testing and learning a lot of things, so it's not to say that all of that will be successful. The way Booking approaches Google and other advertisers is we truly believe in partnerships, which I think makes sense, because if you think about the whole customer journey, and there's companies out there that can actually capture a certain travel intent, you want to make sure you optimize for that intent. And that's what Booking is doing very well every day through, of course, a lot of data. And But more and more, like I said, we're having it within our marketing teams people that really look at the whole travel intent, because we're very good when the travel intent is clear. But of course, there's much more travel intent out there, and I think social and digital platforms are really ready for that. And if you think about Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and so that's also why we're putting more and more people in the valley to really work with these companies and to see how we can optimize that and how we can get data on that intent to understand where we need to advertise. But I expect a lot more to come from that, and we're very happy that there's more and more developments in that space.
So you're hedging your bets.
Yes. Hedging? Oh.
Hedging your bets?
Oh no, we will on any intent we will invest, so that doesn't matter, no.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're out of time. Thank you, Gillian.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.